next person on, we've got Nick Williams. Now, so Nick Williams is a graphic designer. Actually, I actually worked alongside him. I did a project with him at the start of my career back in 2002, 2003, working on a Levi's like project for Okini, which is quite awesome. And our paths have always crossed. Nick is a good friend to Transformers and like like Kingpins, and he launched his latest book with actually sort of like Kingpins. So he's got a great graphics book, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do, if he's going to do more books going forward. But Nick, welcome. You did an amazing you did an amazing job with Amy Leviton quite recently, where she broadened out her tool, where she goes through lots of denim fabrics, but went into trims and branding. So that must have been quite a fun sort of a collaboration to do.
Yeah, definitely. That was something I was thanks for inviting me on today. That was something I wanted to talk through today, and talk through about trims and sustainability, kind of focusing on that as an area. But I worked with Amy, invited me. She had started something called the Denim Directory.
Yep.
Which was a kind of reaction to what was going on and not being able to visit, people not being able to get together so much for physical shows. And a reaction to that was to put together a directory for designers. So it was an overview, somewhere where everyone could show what they were doing for that season. Amy would trend it and have all the information, and I'm going to talk through that.
Please. So anyway, this directory is free to download. You can pay for it as well, but
sure,
can download it. It was awesome. So I'm going to leave you to it. I know you've got quite a lot of slides, so hopefully power.
I'm going to kind of skip over some bits and conconcentrate on other bits, but kind of like go through.
So all the best to you, and I'll jump on like sort of like near the end.
So just as a bit of an introduction, so I've been working I trained as a textile designer, and I've been working in the fashion industry for quite a few years. I won't say how many, but I worked at Levi's. I trained as a textile designer, and I ended up sort of moving into doing more the graphics kind of side of things, and worked in-house at Levi's for 6 years, and that's where I really became interested in working with denim, and for denim brands. But now I kind of work with outerwear brands, outdoor brands, and do a mixture of branding, textile design. And I put together this book, Denim Branded, which must thank the Kingpins team and Andrew especially, because without them it wouldn't have happened, because they gave us a lot of support on the book. But myself and my wife, Jenny, we traveled around and we visited the archives of Levi's, Wrangler and Lee jeans, and put together a book really about the history of branding for denim, but also about using some contemporary brands as well as examples. So hopefully it's a good reference book for people. So hold on, I need to get onto this screen. Yes, so this is the Denim Directory that we were talking about, that I worked on with Amy. Amy works with the Kingpins team, and she does the trends at the Kingpins show. And the Denim Directory was her idea. Initially, the first one that she did was really all about fabric and surface, and working with all the mills. So she invited the mills to send their fabrics to her, and she shot them and trended them and put together a directory. And then she contacted me and said, this is an idea that we think could work with on trims. So when you're working in the denim industry, you're going to be thinking about your fabric, and you're going to be designing your garments, thinking about your fits, and then the finishes and the washes for your fabrics. And then the other thing that you're going to need to consider is what we call trims. Some people call them accessories, and other people call them trims. But these are all the other little elements that are going to go into making a pair of jeans. They're the patches, the buttons, the hang tags, and the branding for the denim. So this is a small introduction, and this, so as I said, this idea was kind of put together because physical shows weren't really happening. So we wanted to create a document that was free to download, So at the end, we can talk about where you can go and get hold of this document. You can download it and get hold of this information, which is really good, because as young designers and students, it's great to know who the people are in the supply chain that you can partner with, whether you're working on your own project or whether you're working on within a brand. And some of these companies, although they're large companies, they will partner with young designers and support young designers. And I know some of them have ways of working with young designers. They'll supply you with free buttons and free labels and stuff like that. They want to support young designers as well as so don't be afraid if, these are companies that big companies work with, but they're also interested in supporting smaller designers as well. Working through, this is the things that we were talking about, the hang tags, the patches, the buttons, and these were like the key market drivers. And we split the presentation into 3 areas. The first one is plant-based, which I'm going to talk into a little bit now. And this is really where the majority of the sustainability, so all of this stuff that you see in this presentation was sent to us by the suppliers that we were working with. They sent us, we asked them to send us their top stories, their latest developments, the things that they had that were key to the market that they wanted to talk about. And then we compiled all that information and then trended it and put it into different areas. So talking into sustainability and the environment, here was one of the concepts that we identified, which was about dyeing and using different means of dyeing, coffee waste, using natural dyeing. Even down here in the bottom right-hand corner, this leather patch is being used, being dyed using vegetable dyes, actually onion and beetroot, and also any kind of bio dyeing for labels. So this was one key trend, that dyeing previously might have been using synthetic chemicals that were harmful maybe to the environment. So a sustainability awareness has really come about, and using more natural ways of dyeing labels, hang tags, leather patches, and that type of thing. Another key driver we found within sustainability was, which actually amazed me because I didn't know a whole lot about this area, but the way that a lot of trims manufacturers, accessories manufacturers are really looking into other types of products to create really what looks like a leather-like patch. Some of these pieces you would really, if you held them in your hand and looked at them, you'd think that they were leather. But apple skins, corn, a byproduct of corn, or olives, and also cactus leaves. I've seen a lot of cactus leaves being used by sneaker brands. You can buy sneakers that are made out of leather that's made out of cactus leaves. And then also at the bottom here, we said I have pineapple skin. So all of these fruit and vegetables and different kind of products have been developed into creating leather-like patches. All natural. This story was really about organic cotton and wood and hemp paper, and using natural elements to create branding for denim, hang tags, what would be like a leather-like patch, but using like a fabric, an organic cotton patch. These buttons down at the bottom, these wooden buttons, have been designed specifically so that they can be removable. Being able to remove the branding at the end of the life cycle of any product is very important, because recycling, when you're recycling jeans at the end, this label that you'll see in the center here by Warp Face, this is actually made, this paper is made using recycled denim. But before you can recycle a denim, you need to strip away all of these elements that we've created. So taking the buttons off, taking the labels off, any labels inside, before you can then put the denim into a machine and recycle it. So these buttons here have been designed specifically so that they can be removed. They go into 2 holes on the denim, and they can like be taken off and used as buttons. So taking away this labeling and branding at the end of the life cycle is as important as putting it on at the beginning. This story is more about flowers and gardening, and we see like a label in the center that actually has some seeds inside it, so you can like take the label out and like plant some flowers. But this was more of a trend, really, a trend story around floral and gardening, and but also some recycling in here with like recycled materials to make woven labels, and also like patches as well. The outdoor story has been like just a massive trend across the fashion industry, and outdoor brands have been partnering up with a lot of high-end labels, which you'll see. We've got a mood shot over here from like Gucci, but this was a story really about styling around the outdoors, but using this rubber base, this rubber at the top here is again using corn. So even like rubber materials and paper, wax paper materials, labeling is using recycling, but again using like these outdoor materials, vegetables and plant-based. We also have some labels here made from recycled denim at the bottom, recycled paper, and recycling. You'll see that label at the top in the center is a label that's made out of like offcuts of leather that have been like sewed together on a machine to create like a new label and then printed over the top. Different parts of like labeling being recycled and upcycled, and as well as like these buttons here, these are actually made from like recycled glass. So a lot of like ideas around recycled materials for creating new end products that can be used back into the denim. So that was the main story I wanted to really focus on, was the sustainability story. But just to, I don't know how we're doing on time, but just to run through the presentation and give you some highlights. This was our second story, which was Future Retro, which was more about neon color pops and space age kind of materials and designs. And you'll see like recycled nylon buttons that have like a rubber kind of like effect coating on them, and a lot of like embossing, debossing into the design of the denim, neon color pops. I don't know how we're doing for time, so I'm going to shoot through some of these. But as I say, this document is available to download, so you can have a look through it at your leisure if you get hold of it. There's a wealth of information here. The third story was archives, and this was our kind of like heritage historical story, where the influences from looking at people's, everyone's kind of looking, so many big brands are looking back at their archives and bringing back pieces of nostalgic elements into their design. So this is where we kind of like found a trend to focus on that. And as I go towards the end, this is where we reach the supplier directory. So these are all the suppliers that we worked with on the project, and each supplier has their own dedicated page, which will have some information about that supplier, who the people are, you know, the key people to contact. Click on the hyperlink, take you to their website. So these are the 9 suppliers that we worked with. And this is where you can pick it up. You can, this QR code you can scan, and that's going to take you directly to the website, but it's on the Denim Dudes, denimdudes.co website. And there you'll find the directories that are the surface pattern directories, as well as this trims dedicated one. So yeah, that's, if anybody's got any questions, if you want to jump back in.
Thank you so much, Nick. That was awesome. And it's so cool to see that, you know, we're working with all our friends working together, and that's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
I'll say to any students that are watching, definitely snap that with your phone and download this report, and hopefully you can see past reports as well. So the whole philosophy that you guys are with sharing knowledge, and obviously you are getting paid in other ways, but it's nice to see that you're thinking about also students and other younger designers who can get access to this kind of information. So
and it was great, actually, the way we worked on this presentation with Amy being in LA and myself being in the UK. And we had it on Google Docs. We had the document up on Google Docs, so we could both edit it live. We could both go in there, take pictures out, add them in, edit parts of copy and share that information. And that's something that, that technology was really around before, but I wasn't really sort of working with people like that on projects. And it's quite amazing to be in different parts of the world, but creating the same PowerPoint document essentially at the same time. But
it's
awesome.
Awesome. So obviously, quick questions. We've got a couple of minutes, but if you could unshare that would be amazing. But for you, obviously, you're working with loads of different companies. You're constantly looking at graphics as well, sustainable ways of printing. There's so many things that you're actively in, and obviously regarding trims, this is something that's your passion project. I know you're constantly if you go onto Nick's Instagram, he's constantly taking pictures of awesome trims and old branding, and it's a really good resource that you do just for us. It's a real joy going onto your Instagram and seeing what you're checking out. But are there any old brands that people should be looking at that have got amazing branding that we should all look at or try and find that you can give us a little
I mean, I guess obviously the big three to do the research into Levi's, Wrangler and Lee, and actually something that came about through doing the book was how many other, maybe not so much maybe Levi's, although they did have some other sort of sub brands, other brands with Wrangler and Bluebell and Lee as well, how they developed so much for private labels, and how they were working with other companies to develop other kind of brands. So there was all that kind of not so well known brands that are kind of part of the history of these brands.
There's brands like Car, but there's brands like Boston, which I'm wearing today, and Sweet Ore, and some of these original OG brands, which no longer exist, but they've been absorbed by other companies, right?
So, exactly. Yeah, and that was kind of interesting to find out about. And it was a great, amazing opportunity to get into some of those archives and just discover stuff, especially at the Wrangler archive, because that really was just kind of going into a vintage store and just looking through shelves and opening books and folders and finding things within them. It's not, at the time when I went, it hadn't really been kind of categorized into very clean sort of drawers and stuff. So it really was about more of a rummage, really.
When you go into these archives, when you go into a Levi's archive or Lee or Wrangler or someone's personal archive, you probably only got maybe a couple of hours at the most, and they're very secretive to show you only certain things, or they show you things rather than you rummage through. They show you, they want you to see.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the way with Lee was, it was more of a way that I worked with the archivist and kind of had a running list of what things I was interested in, and she actually brought the things out to show me when I arrived, because I actually was only there a couple of days, so we didn't have that much time to see the stuff and then decide what we wanted to use, get the photo shoot together and stuff like that. So it was kind of when I arrived, it was kind of on rails, these are the garments we found, these are the labels that we thought you might be interested in and stuff like that.
I've been lucky enough to visit a few people's archives, and I've gone to a couple of textile museums in Boston and things like that, where they're very open, happy to you to share and show you things that they've got and the rest of it. There are a couple of questions that I've got to come in, so let's quickly go through them. A question from Shazado. Hey Nick, talking about base-like materials, what do you recommend? Composite or a conventional wear one? So base-like material. I think it's talking about using leather or canvases, or what are your thoughts on obviously now we can't be using certain like sort of like materials. So
I mean, I think I'm sure composite is a good way to go, and like so you're not like so restricted, and you can like take things from different areas and use that. So that's possibly like probably the better solution, I guess.
I know, I know Levi's, for instance, they were using their canvas patch on their like 201 jean for their cheaper styles, and now it's become quite more sustainable to use a canvas patch to have a printed rubber stamp label rather than the whole mold costs and the wastage of you making like leather patches, because they're all so like uniform. Let's just check if there's any more questions. I think there's only one that came through. But Nick, that was awesome. Well, I think we've just run out of time now. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you get many more people like downloading your like booklet, and hope to see Denim branded too as well in the near future. Awesome.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thank you.
Good luck with the rest of the show.
Oh, it's been great. So we've been